And then you have 3 minutes.
Okay, so my name is Diane Wolf, and I am also calling in support of continuing Project Roomkey. 300 people have relearned how to live indoors, and you're about to force them to learn how to live outdoors again. If we haven't been able to house these people, we need to figure out why. And the county and the city need to come up with the answers to what are we missing? What do we have to do differently to house these people? I would suggest to you that anyone in this group who is on Social Security, that those are people who've contributed to our economy, they've contributed to our community, and if we don't provide housing for them, we're failing them. We're failing the most vulnerable members of our community, and we're failing to provide that safety net that Social Security has promised. So I'm joining with the other callers in pleading with you to use the ARPA funds to keep open Project Roomkey until you're able to house all of these people and until you understand why they haven't been housed, what the next steps are, and to urge you to recognize that as a county and as a city, we are failing the part of our population that supports the rest of us. Instead of building housing for those people who run our city, we're allowing the developers to build housing only for the people in the upper economic echelons and leaving behind all of the people that we're really dependent on. So thank you very much for your consideration.
You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Board. My name is Mason Taylor, and I work with public health advocates on the California COVID Justice Initiative. I live in Sacramento's District 1. Supervisor Cerna, shout out to you. I moved furniture with you years ago when I was an AmeriCorps member, and we were repurposing the old Fruit Ridge Elementary School into what's now the Fruit Ridge Community Collaborative. I really looked up to your leadership then, and I hope that the Board together will do the right thing now. As soon as March 15th, hundreds of vulnerable older adults will be forced back onto the streets by the closures of Project Roomkey hotels. These folks are overwhelmingly of advanced age and have pre-existing conditions, the reason that they were triaged for this shelter in the first place. This project has successfully housed 174 residents, and 80 more are expected to exit into housing. The Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or SARA, received over 30,000 applications for aid, and the program has only had the capacity to serve 11,400 of them. So there is demonstrated need, and these are two programs that have demonstrated success rates. Advocates in Sacramento are wondering why, at a time when the whole state is converging on the issues of homelessness prevention and increasing affordable housing, the county would turn their backs on this opportunity to continue funding projects that already have the infrastructure in place to save lives and prevent more people from falling into homelessness. Currently, the board is sitting on $25 million in ARPA funds for district-specific projects that have yet to be released to the public, though the pandemic did not affect every district in the same way. Additionally, the recent Sacramento County Grand Jury report reminds residents that the county misappropriated at least $104.2 million in CARES Act funding that was meant for pandemic response. Instead, it funded the regular operating budget of the sheriff's office. So today we are asking that you maintain Project Roomkey, bolster funding for the SARA program, and message to the public how and when this body intends on reinvesting the $104.2 million that was subtracted from the budget in 2020 and filled with pandemic response dollars, and prioritizing the second tranche of ARPA funding coming in May or June, the long-term recovery and repair that the community is owed, which in this county means building safe, permanent, and affordable housing. I also want to update the board that the advocacy letter sent yesterday now has garnered 169 community signatures, and 12 organizations have signed on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Liz Blum. I'm with Decarcerate Sacramento. I'm calling because I'm extremely concerned that the county is planning to cancel the Project Roomkey program, which has been providing temporary housing to hundreds of people throughout the pandemic. And the COVID-19 pandemic is continuing to impact our community and remains especially concerning for individuals who have pre-existing conditions, which is the population that will be impacted by these proposed mass evictions. 51% are older than 55 and 39% have chronic health conditions. Over the past 2 years, individuals in Project Roomkey were never supported in accessing IDs, which are required to even attempt to access county housing programs. People have nowhere else to go if they are evicted. Nowhere else but the public spaces where our unhoused neighbors continue to be criminalized simply for trying to survive, and then end up arrested and in jail under the types of laws that have been used for over 100 years to disappear people deemed vagrant by those in power. We can and must do better for the growing number of our community members who are trying to survive. We must recognize that our decisions, your decisions here on a local level, are reflective of national priorities. We live in one of the most wealthy countries in the world with the worst inequality. And this is perpetuated when we don't use our ample public dollars to support those most in need in our community. The Board of Supervisors has the power and the moral responsibility to use ARPA funding to continue this program while also building more long-term solutions. Housing was a number one on the ARPA community survey priorities, and yet it is not being reflected as the number one priority in the actual ARPA spending so far. Our community needs this federal funding to be used in a way that directly impacts lives. And this is your opportunity to prevent mass evictions of hundreds of people. This is your chance to ensure that this funding has a powerful impact. Please take immediate action today and redirect your unallocated $25 million in ARPA funding to sustain Project Roomkey. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, you can start with your comments. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Deacon David Barnett from Westminster Presbyterian Church here in Sacramento. I'm the current chair of the Social Justice Action Ministry, and the first priority of that ministry is an end to homelessness in Sacramento and the world. Calling specifically to talk about the Project Roomkey closure of motel rooms. Seems obvious we could use the ARP funds to end the closure concept. It's increasingly frustrating to see how little attention is going to the homeless crisis and how much kind of backlash and pushback we're experiencing from people who don't find it a high priority. I read the mayor's master plan. I know about the 20 sites. I've been talking to Katie Valenzuela about the inaction and how there are 20 sites and no safe grounds. For me, I'm Christian, believe in Jesus, and I'm centered on, what would Jesus do? And I'm pretty darn sure that he would be leading the parade to end homelessness here and everywhere. And starting in Sacramento, we should be a model for the rest of the country on how the problem can be solved. The master plan, if put into effect, would do so in a very short period of time. And if all we're talking about is money, it's just a matter of money, we just can't afford it, well then, frankly, I don't think you know what Christianity is all about. You have to make sacrifices in order to do the good and do the right. And time is now. No more postponing, no more committee meetings. It's been decided. We have a path to end homelessness beginning in Sacramento. And if we can do it here, we can be a model for let's just shoot for the rest of California. We should lead this country to an end to homelessness. It's an obscenity. It's a shame on our nation. And if we don't take this seriously now, then we've failed. And Christian churches have failed as well. Every Christian church should be leading the parade to end homelessness, whatever it takes. Maybe we should have a telethon for homelessness. Bring in enough money to say, we got the money, let's just spend it. Let's end this. No more discussions. No more equivocating. No more avoiding. No more adjusting. Let's do what must be done. It's a matter of conscience. That's all I have to say.
Good.
My name is Christine Bailey, and I am a resident of County District 3. I'm calling, well, first of all, I want to thank you for your work. You have a very hard job. I am calling to urge you to redirect $25 million of the recently allocated ARPA money to extend Project Roomkey and to provide additional funding to the SARA program. Funding for these programs is needed immediately so that more vulnerable Sacramentans do not become homeless and out on the streets. 90% of the 333 current residents of Project Roomkey are elderly or chronically ill. The SARA program has only been able to support 11,000 of the 30,000 applications. So funding for this urgent care, I think, could be taken from the $5 million carve-out recently allocated to each of the 5 supervisors, and I urge you to do this. It's just the right thing to do for these most vulnerable Sacramento families. And I also urge you to use equity data mapping tools in conjunction with qualitative data from community listening sessions to make future funding decisions. Thank you, and thank you for your work. Take care.